Hi, and welcome to 3 Things in 3 Minutes. I'm Nersi. Today we are going to be talking about Villainous from Wonderforge Games. And this game plays 2 to 6 players, and it takes 45 minutes to an hour, maybe a little bit longer, depending on how many players you have. It does pretty much depend on the player count. And this is a Disney-themed game in which you play one of the Disney villains. On your turn, you move your action pawn to different spaces on your board, and you will take the actions listed on there. You're going to be trying to build a tableau. What you're trying to do with that tableau differs from the villains, so they all each have different goals, which we'll get back to in a bit. But you're trying to essentially manipulate your tableau to meet your goals, and you're trying to hinder other villains by playing items from their fate deck, which is sort of the take that mechanic, which will do things to slow them down. A few things I like about this game. One of the things that is very striking about the game is it's got this gorgeous new art, especially considering how much resource they have with the Disney art, and they could have just taken stills from the various movies. It does have all new art that is thematically and stylistically consistent throughout the game, and the game does have these really gorgeous abstracted pawns that essentially represent the villain in a symbolic form, which I think look pretty great. Having the asymmetry of the goals, so each villain's trying to accomplish something else, actually provides for more strategic gameplay, and considering this is a Disney game, that came as a bit of a surprise, but the game can actually be pretty strategic as people are trying to do different things. Now, in spite of that, the rules are actually not that hard, the base rules. The complexity comes from each villain's own deck and what they're trying to accomplish, but the base game is pretty simple. Everyone shares a handful of the same actions. It's just how they do them in combination and what they're trying to accomplish with that that varies from villain to villain. A few things to consider about this game. The game, it does rely on a take that mechanic. What you do is you play these fate cards onto someone else's tableau. It'll block some of their actions and give them some obstacles that they need to overcome. And take that mechanics do inherently imbalance the game. If you're really focusing on one person over another, that person will have a harder time and make it easier for some other person to win the game. So there is a little bit of a balance issue from that. Also, because everyone has their own goals and their own tableaus, you might end up spending a lot of time trying to figure out what other people are doing and be looking at their tableaus, especially if you have a lot of players. It's hard to just look around and see what is everyone doing and who's close to winning. The game does include a guide for your own villain and a little bit of information on how to stop other villains, but you do end up having to pay a lot of attention to what other people's doing, which is a bit distracting. And also the fate cards are not that different. There are only so many things you can do to make life harder for one another, so they are pretty limited. So, in summary, it is an asymmetric game that provides very different strategies for different people with some gorgeous artwork and pieces, but the take that mechanic can become imbalanced. Thanks for watching. Please comment and subscribe.